In this lesson, we'll work on preparing our source data for our retargeting work. The scene is 0 to begin in your project files. Let me go ahead and hit play so you can see what we'll be working with in this course. Alright, pretty fun, right? So we have a double kick animation. This will be really fun, really challenging as well, considering the orientation of the skeleton. If you're familiar with rigging, you know that your character rig is normally aligned to the z-axis. That's the angle it follows. Whereas with this data, it's kind of diagonal, right? Between the z and x-axes. So that's one challenge. Another challenge is, well, do the proportions of this skeleton match with our character skeleton? And if not, how can we resolve that issue? So these are some things we will learn in this course. Now, before we get started, I'd like to go ahead and show you where I grabbed this data from. It's a really cool site with a large mocap library that I think you'll really enjoy. So I'll go ahead and pause the video and bring up the site. And here it is. So thanks to the Advanced Computing Center for the Arts and Design, we have this large library again of mocap we can use for our projects, all free. So thank you, because this is, if anything, a great way to kind of experiment with other techniques we might want to use when retargeting animation. So after you're done with this course, you might kind of play around with the technique and customize it to work for your needs. Awesome. So again, here's the site if you need it. And with that said, we'll go ahead and jump right back into Cinema 4D and get started on cleaning up our skeleton to get ready for, again, our retargeting work. So back in Cinema 4D, the first thing I'd like to do is go ahead and rename our data here to something that is less generic. Right now, we don't quite know from the name what this is used for. So we just want to stay organized. And here's how. We could actually use the naming tool to quickly rename this entire hierarchy. Let's go ahead and grab it again. That's under the Tools menu, Naming. So we can then go ahead and middle click on the skeleton null, and that's going to grab the entire hierarchy. If I hold down Control and click to expand it, you can see everything's highlighted. Alright, so once we've done that, we can go ahead and grab our naming tool again. Let's head over to the prefix field underneath Replace, and we'll type in the following. That's going to be src for source underscore kick, since that's what this animation is, and then we'll add another underscore just to add a bit of a separation between our prefix and the name of each joint. Now watch this. When we click Replace, everything gets renamed. Exciting. Alright, fun stuff. So now that we've done this, with everything still highlighted, let's say we go ahead and jump to the F-curve timeline, so we can go ahead and shift our keys down one frame. Why would we do that? Well, because on frame 0, that's where we're going to straighten up the skeleton so that it can resemble the neutral pose of our custom rig. So let's go ahead and right-click and head over to Show F-curves. Alright, sweet. Now if your keys do not load in, here's one way you can do this. You can go ahead and grab, let's say, your rectangle selection tool, and with all of your joints highlighted, you can basically go ahead and left click and drag from your Objects Manager over to the F-curve window, and that will load in everything for you. So at this point, it's just a matter of grabbing all of your keys. Now you can go ahead and zoom in a little bit more. Then you can hold down Shift, and that'll lock our movement either in value or in time. So in this case, we want to kind of shift everything down in time. So while holding down Shift, let's go ahead and drag one frame over to our right. Fantastic. So that'll free up frame 0 for us. Now we can go ahead and close out of the F-curve timeline. And on frame 0, and with Auto Key on, we'll go ahead and start cleaning up our skeleton. Let's go ahead and drop our selection. I like to start with the easier areas first. For example, the knees and elbows. So with these, we can basically go ahead and zero out the orientation, and just the orientation. We'll worry about position later. So what this means is that on frame 0, we can basically go in and we can right click on our properties to zero out our joints so that they share the same space as the parent joint. Fantastic. Now, if as you're setting keys, you see that the rotation does not get recorded, just make sure it's on your animation palette. Here's rotation here, so we want to make sure that's on. And it should be on by default, so you should be good to go. I'll grab the other knee here. I'll do the same thing. Just right-click and zero out those joints. Fantastic. We can go to the thigh. Let's go ahead and right-click to zero out that chain. All right, I'll do the same thing for the other thigh. Just go ahead and right-click to zero out those joints. Nice. Now from here, we can go ahead and start to work on the arms. So we'll get to the elbow and go ahead and right-click to zero out these properties. We'll do the same thing for the opposite arm. Again, just the forearm for right now. And then we can do the same thing for the wrist. Let's go ahead and reset the rotation for the wrist on frame 0. All right, sweet. So that's working out well already. Let's go ahead and move to the spine. So here we have this second spine joint. I'll go ahead and right-click to straighten that up. All right, cool. You can see here it's going to kind of flip when we zero out the bank axis. Let me go ahead and press Ctrl-Z to undo back. And instead of using 0 here, we might use a value of 180. So any value that's going to kind of straighten out this chain, that's what we basically want to use. So that could be 180, that could be 90, or that could also be 0. All right, let's go ahead and move up the chain. I'll go ahead and zero out this chest bone. All right, fantastic. Now we can go to the shoulders and zero those out. So you can see it's starting to come together, right? Awesome. How about the head bone? Let's go ahead and grab that and zero that out as well. Awesome stuff. All right, great. I'll go ahead and zero out this top joint. Oh, and you can see here, when we zero out the position, that's actually going to cause it to shift to its parent, which in this case is the neck joint. So I'm going to go ahead and slide down after undoing and make sure that we're actually zeroing out rotation and not position. Well, that's the reason why we wouldn't want to zero out the position, because that will cause our joints to shift in an undesirable way. All right, so you can see here, we're basically just about finished. There are a few things that we'll have to tweak. For example, when we get to this main root here, our hip, let's go ahead and make sure that we have that selected. You'll notice that when we go ahead and zero this out, it's actually going to kind of place this parallel to our grid. But no worries, this is actually what we want, because now we can go ahead and grab our rotate tool. Let's go ahead and press the R key. And we can start to kind of rotate this up. And as we do, if I go ahead and jump back to the object, let's go to Mode, Object, via the Attributes Manager. When we have a look at our rotate value, you can see here that a value of -90 is going to work very well for our pitch axis. So let's go ahead and type that in. All right, fantastic. So now it's just a matter of straightening up the other joints here. So we could start to kind of zero out these other joints. We don't want to flip that upside down. So in this case, the heading axis could be set to, let's say, positive 180. What happens when we zero out our bank? That actually works very well. All right, awesome stuff. So we're very close now. What I'd like to do at this point is just go ahead and stop the lesson, and we'll go ahead and clean up the clavicles and the foot joints as well in the following lesson.